Hi, I'm Lee. I'm a New Zealander who lives in the East Riding of Yorkshire, and this is my podcast about my handmade life. You can find me on Instagram as Louleigh_, and on Ravelry as Louleigh, and I have an Etsy shop where I sell sewing and knitting patterns at Shop Louleigh on Etsy, but you can find links to all of my online places at louleigh.com. It's so nice to be sitting and chatting with you again because I think it's been, was it early January last time I did this? And I think recently, I'm not sure, we've been in lockdown here in the UK since early January. When was it? What date was it? I don't know. They all seem to blend together now. So we've been in lockdown since early January, and I'm not sure if it's because of lockdown or if it's just because there's so many things going on at the moment that I kind of feel like things are happening in really tiny little increments. And so I thought it would be nice to come and make a podcast, and maybe I'll just leave my camera set up and make the podcast in tiny little increments, because I really do enjoy coming and talking to you. So things have changed here a little bit since you were here last time. One of the things that I've been doing is actually just making my living room here a bit nicer. All of the rooms could do with a little lick of paint and a touch up and a little bit of love. And so I've been painting, and this month I've got shelves. Yes, my new plant is standing in a dog bowl. And will continue to stand in a dog bowl until I next go to a garden centre, whatever that might be. I've got curtains now, and at some point I'm going to put up some pictures. But anyway, so that's one thing I've been chipping away at. One of the other things that I have been working on is the next pattern for the Socks of the Allotment collection, and I actually have the sample finally up there. You probably can't see it. Just drying, ready for me to take some pictures, and so to put into the pattern. And so I'm really looking forward to chatting to you about that this week as well. Speaking of socks, what was I going to say speaking of socks? Some time ago, I have no idea how many weeks ago it was now, but it was back in January, I made a section for the podcast about the socks that I was knitting, and I have gifted some of them now. So I'm going to put that in here and you can enjoy that. While you're watching that segment though, I'm going to do the prize draw that I spoke to you about last time. I had said that I had this lovely skein of Eden Cottage Bowland DK. This is what I knitted the Egremont russet sample in, and I was going to give it away for the sock knit along that we've had running over in the Louleigh Ravelry group for some time. So while you're watching Lee from the past whittling on about the socks that I knitted in the past, I'm going to look up that thread and give this lovely skein of yarn and the Egremont russet pattern to one of you. This is the socks segment. I wanted to share the socks with you that I've been working on because I have a couple of pairs that are finished and are ready to gift. So these ones you might feel like you've seen before. This was one of my epic tubes, and this is the second pair of socks that I've gotten out of that tube. It was a special self-striping yarn that I was given by Rose from Akara Yarns. It was her self-striping yarn experiment, so that's really exciting. And then I used some sheepish sock from Ginger Twist Studio for the toes and heels. And I cut in a true afterthought heel, You might remember that I had tried doing a swirled heel that I didn't think worked very well, and then I've just done a normal, what would you call this, rhombus shaped toe. So those are all ready to go off and be gifted to a young friend who has COVID and is self-isolating, and I thought that these might cheer her up. She'll go round and abandon them on her doorstep. It seems to be the way with things at the minute, abandoning things on people's doorsteps because they're isolating. So yeah, that's the times we live in. The other pair of socks that I have finished are for another friend. A big size 9 pair of socks that I have made out of West Yorkshire spinners. I did buy this yarn to make socks for me, but I think he will like them. They are in the pheasant colourway, and I have used the nutmeg colour, which I've used before. I love this sort of gingery, nutmeggy colour, I think that's a good description. And I've done an eye of partridge heel and just a rhombus shaped toe there as well. And I'm really excited to gift those ones too, so that would be good fun. It'd be fun to wrap them both up and send them out into the world. And I'm working on another pair of socks. These ones aren't quite vanilla. I'm branching out. So I am just doing the heel flap on this one. This is the heel flap from my favourite sock pattern. I just find that with the alternating rows from the eye of partridge heel, I'm just a little bit inclined to go astray with that sometimes if I'm not concentrating. And as this was a dark yarn, I didn't want to have to worry about being able to see my mistake. So I have just, I've done a much more regular stitch pattern. I don't know if you can see it there. That just creates kind of a pinstripe up the back. And I am using just a broken rib pattern. I thought that it just gives a little bit of texture and you still get 2 rest rows every now and again, so it still sort of moves along a little better than a 2x2 ribbed sock. But the nice thing about a 2x2 ribbed sock is that it's really well fitting. It just has that, you know, stretchiness that conforms to someone's leg and foot. So yeah. So by a broken rib pattern, I just mean I do 2 rows of 2x2 rib and then 2 plain knitted rows. I keep moving this around rather than just holding it here so you can see it. So the camera can focus. I forget what this colour is called. Maybe it's on the ball band. It's Lang Yarwol, which if you come here regularly you'll notice is a new favourite of mine, partly because of the lovely colours it comes in. It will have an actual name, but the colour is 8104. I think the other number is the dye lot. I think it's something like blackberry. Yeah, and I am using the spool. In the middle of this tube you get this little spool of reinforcement thread, so I'm holding that with the heel as well. This is only enough to do the heel and the toe for one sock. So, and I say that because I have another pair of socks where I bought 2 different colours to use together, but of course there's not enough reinforcement thread, pardon me, to use on both socks. So I ended up having to buy an extra skein as well, just because I liked the way it looked and I wanted that little spool. But I'm accumulating quite a few of these little spools because sometimes I'll use other yarns like an opal or West Yorkshire spinners for the heel and toe, which are slightly thicker than the Lang Yarwol. This creates sort of a sort of a finer, more dress sock, I suppose, rather than a boot sock, if that's a thing. Whereas West Yorkshire Spinners and Opal and Regia, is that how you say it? Regia? I think so. Are just a little bit thicker. So I don't need to hold, I don't hold reinforcement thread with that. Yeah, so those are the socks that I'm working on. So I've just run my random number generator and number 13 came up. And in our sock knit along, I think I called it the Great Sock Whip Down of 2020 and 2021. And so number 13 was Tahira. I'm not sure if that's how you say it. Tahira? Anyway, I'm going to get in touch with you and send you off this lovely skein of yarn with the Egremont Russet pattern. Of course you can do whatever you want with the yarn, but I hope that you enjoy it. In the sock segment, you might have seen that one of the pairs that I had started on was this pair of socks that I'm making for a friend, using a broken rib pattern. And I made a couple of foibles with this. I think if you want to knit something similar, I think the blueberry waffle sock is similar to this one. It uses I think it is the same broken rib pattern, but anyway, I just made this one up as I went along. And I made a couple of bungles with it. I used Lang Yarwall again. I forget what the colour was, but it will be on the project page in Ravelry. And even just sitting here looking at the screen, I can see one of the mistakes. I put too many rows just here and the pattern repeat, and so there's a little stripe there. The other thing was that Lang Yarwall comes with reinforcement thread, and I remembered to put it in the heel and completely forgot to put it in the toes. But anyway, these are going to be work socks for a friend of mine, and so I don't think he's going to be terribly bothered about that. And it'll be interesting to see how they wear. So yeah, those are those ones finished and all ready to gift. I'm getting ready to cast on the next Socks From The Allotment pattern. Actually, I should get out the yarn for that. I got some lovely yarn. When I do a collection, I like to make sure that all of the colours kind of go together for all the different patterns, so that they look nice when they're all together on a page. And so I ordered some yarns from Eden Cottage, which is probably one of my favourite yarn dyers. I didn't realise that until I realised how much of her yarn I had in my stash. But I think I'm going to run off and get that bag out of my studio chaos room, and just have a look at that yarn, because I haven't had it out of the bag for like months. So it'll be fun to sort of like open it up with you and get it out and get excited about caking it up and starting the next sample. So I've got the bag here, and for the last pair of socks in the Socks From The Allotment collection, it has a lace cuff, and I had to adjust the pattern so that it would fit the different sizes in the sock. So I'm going to knit 2 samples so that you can see what the lace repeat looks like for both. And I've got these lovelies to knit them with. As I said, I've not pulled them out of this bag for like ages, and now that I've got them out, I'm so excited. They're so pretty. This one, I don't know if you can see, has sparkle in it. I've also just realised that there's a lot of background noise going on here today. It's really, we had a real cold snap at the beginning of February, and when I say cold for the East Riding of Yorkshire, I'm talking it got down to about -2 degrees Celsius, and following that we're having a really warm, mild snap. So I am sitting here with the door open, and you might be able to hear the birds and some traffic, but also I have my washing machine going, so you might hear that as well. Anyway, I'm so excited to have these pretty yarns out and to get them caked up and start knitting on the last sock sample. That's going to be really good fun. This is community news, and I've already spoken about the Great Sock Whip Down. I talked about that yesterday, and so I wanted to talk about the other things that are running in the Louleigh Ravelry group. There is Knit 1000 grams, which is, I think that's due to finish at the end of March, so make sure you pop over and you update your posts there with your progress. I think I need to do that as well myself. We also have the Advent mini skein swap, and I was going to pair everybody up after lockdown had finished here in the UK, and we hear a little bit more about what's going to happen there today. But I think what I'm going to do is to pair everybody up around the 1st of March so that we can kick that off for the year. But please be aware that some people are still in lockdown, and so that might just delay when they can actually post things. So that just keep in touch with your swap buddies and be a little patient about when people can get things in the post to you. The other thing that I started at the beginning of lockdown, way back in January, was the frivolous along. And I have changed the rules for this because I said it had to be frivolous and useless, and I've decided that useless was quite difficult for a lot of people, me included. And so it can be frivolous and useful. I hope that helps people. And I had started, oh, you can't really see it. I had in my stash this great Bunny Rabbit kit that I was given, and it's a Toft kit, and it's brilliant. This has everything you need to do it in the packet, right down to the darning needle and the stuffing, and that was just so exciting to be able to set off on that journey knowing that I was fully stocked up with everything. So I had made a couple of legs and things, and I am just chugging along with that really slowly. So if you have started something a little bit frivolous, just to, you know, bring a bit of spontaneous joy to your life, then I hope you'll come and join us in the frivolous along. Okay, so that's Knit 1000 grams, the Advent mini skein swap. We've talked about the Great Sock Whip Down. I think that's everything. Yeah, so that was community news. I have a hat on because I haven't had a haircut since December, and I can't get to the hairdressers now until the 24th of April. So I think I'm just going to have to wear a hat between now and then. Anyway, I've just finished work. It's a really nice evening. I'm about to take the dogs up for a walk. But I wanted to just pop in and say that I have cast something on. I had no socks on the needles, and I have been doing quite a few training courses for work which are all operating on Zoom. And so I like to have something really easy just sitting by my computer that I can work on while I'm on these courses. Yeah, and so I was ferreting about in my stash and I found this, which is my hand spun. This was spun with some Shetland fibre from Hilltop Cloud, and I have cast on the Midas hat. Doesn't look like much, but it will be. It's a it's got a double thickness brim, and it's just an awful lot of stocking stitch. So I've done the provisional cast on and just started that to leave beside my computer. Hi, it's Saturday morning, and I have to confess I've been putting off talking to you about this next thing. I'm wearing a hat because I haven't had my hair cut since December, and I'm booked in for the next available haircut that I can go to, and that's on the 25th of April. So, and I'm still putting off talking to you about this next thing. I don't know why I'm nervous about this. This is the next pattern from the Socks From The Allotment collection. And I started knitting these in the summer, excuse me, with the intention that I would photograph them on my normal sock model. And then we're in tier 3, and then we're in lockdown, and so that's not a thing. So I am going to try to photograph them flat and take some nice pictures for the pattern, but I thought I would show them to you first. Bobby is wandering around here like a bit of a spare part. I don't think he really knows what to do with himself. But anyway, this is the sun gold pattern, and I was so intrigued when I came across Cat Bawdy and her sweet tomato heel, which is this beautiful heel that is done in segments. And I tried this on the prototype sock, and it fits my feet really nicely. But what really excited me about it was being able to construct sort of uninterrupted stripes down the front of the sock and just have that fan out into the heel, have that blob of colour just fan out into the heel, rather than either doing the heel in a different colour. It just, the continuity of it really intrigued me and how I might do that. So it was a bit of a challenge that way, in using that. I've used for this pair of socks, as the main colour, I've used Eden Cottage Compost. I really like the range of neutrals that Eden Cottage has. You know, there's browns and greys, and they have depth and they're interesting. And the compost, it's not quite brown, it's not quite grey, and I would say it's got kind of a purpley mauvey undertone to it. It's just a really beautiful colour. For the contrasting colour, these coloured stripes, I've used Louleigh family yarns, one of their mini skein sets, and this is not the first time I've used one of their mini skein sets. They do beautiful soft colour palettes that always just work so well together, and I just thought these two sort of sets of yarn just looked really great together. I initially did the prototype for this in a commercial yarn, which I might show you and talk about another time when I actually find that sock in a box somewhere. But one of the test knitters had done it in a mini skein, I think it was a mini skein set as well, and so that's what inspired my choice for this pair of socks. So it's got the sweet tomato heel. That's the name that Cat Bawdy gives this heel. Sun Gold is actually a variety of cherry tomatoes. I am not a fan of tomatoes at all. I don't like the texture in my mouth and the way the juice explodes and the flavour, and yeah, I like growing tomatoes. I really enjoy growing tomatoes, but not a big fan of eating raw tomatoes. I eat them cooked all the time, but yeah. However, Sun Gold is a little wee cherry tomato, and I find that sometimes with cherry tomatoes they have that big tomato texture that I don't like, but they were kind of the first tomato that I felt like I could just eat raw and actually enjoy. So I am paying homage to that variety. So what I've done is I've used this little, there's a slip stitch pattern that goes down each side of the front of the sock to kind of interrupt the striping jog, so it's not really obvious there. And that goes all the way down to a nice swirl toe, which is one of my favourite types of toe construction. So yeah, I think the These socks excite me because there's so many options for doing them with leftovers and bits and pieces. In the prototype, when I was working out the pattern, I had done a main colour, and then I had a contrast colour in all of these stripes, and then I had a big bold pop in the heel stripe just here, which was really fun. So there's so many options for using up bits and pieces. Oh, it's gone really dark. I think the sun has shifted. That's a bit odd. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. There's so many options for using up bits and pieces of yarn. Yeah, the lighting's gone really odd. Huh. Bear with me. It's every time I hold up the socks. There we go. I'll sit back, that might help. So many options for using up bits and pieces of yarn. I think I used less than 20 grams for all of these contrasty bits, and I think they were 10 gram minis, and I've got loads left over from all of these stripes. Even with the heel, I still have a good blob of that one left over as well. So yeah, it's a good opportunity to rummage through your stash and find some fun colours that are maybe in your leftovers box that you think might go together, and to just have fun with the stripes and the construction. And I'm really interested to see how people find this heel as well. I found it really easy to construct, and I like the way it fits on my foot. I think it's just fun to try something new with that. So these are the Sun Gold socks. If you've already purchased Socks from the Allotment, then there will be an update that will have popped into your Ravelry library or into the Etsy shop if you've bought them that way. Yeah, I think that's all that is to say about these socks. And now that I've actually stopped talking about them, I'm actually really excited to get on and take the pictures and get these out into the world. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to sign off now and get this pattern released. It's been really nice to sit down and have a little chat with you. I always feel a bit weird when I do these bits sort of like on consecutive days, or bits that happened 2 weeks ago, because I'm never sure how they'll cobble together. So I hope you've enjoyed yourself and had a nice little break with me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Then I say something like and subscribe if you enjoyed yourself, and I'll see you next time. Cheerio.